Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for Crime 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward. We begin as we are tracking very strong winds across the area. We're going to go straight out to our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo. He's outside in the wind right now. So, Jeremy, the question is, should we be expecting stronger winds, or is it going to get better through the night?
I actually think we're about a couple of hours away from some of our strongest winds here in Spokane. Right now, not looking too terribly bad. We have, well, wind gusts, if this would cooperate, around 25 to 30 miles per hour. So those wind gusts are going to continue as we move through the next couple of hours. Expect them to stay rather strong, and that's really going to be the case. Wind stays strong through this evening and then eventually tapers off later tonight. We have wind advisories in place and blowing dust advisories out in central Washington. There we go, 57 degrees with the rain coming down, and I can tell you it just hit here on the South Hill. And I am actively getting wet. I didn't bring the umbrella because 2 minutes ago it wasn't raining. Wind dies down this evening, as I mentioned, but yes, there are wind advisories and blowing dust advisory for central Washington. Visibility down below a mile, even a quarter of a mile at times, but those showers just out to the east. So we're seeing those in eastern Washington and North Idaho. Those will persist. A little bit of lightning just south of Sandpoint. Now moving out of Deer Park, watching another storm north of Coeur d'Alene, crossing 95 right now. So expect some heavy rain there, and expect that to kind of be the case. Pop-up showers, packing a little bit of convection. Tornadic activity, no chance. Maybe some isolated stronger wind gusts, but as you can tell, the wind really blowing and the hair, well, the hair anemometer is blowing as well. Next few hours, temps stay pretty mild thanks to the wind and the cloud cover, but we will start to clear out overnight.
Yeah, when I said don't blow away, Jeremy, I really did mean it, so come on inside. Well, Stevens County Emergency Services are a bit down on their luck this week, and it's impacting how they're able to respond to emergency calls in that area. Crime 2's Amanda Rowley went to Stevens County today after 2 fire trucks were forced out of service.
Stevens County Emergency Services have had a rough week. Now, the fire chief for Fire District 2 not only discovered that one of their trucks was severely damaged, but someone had stolen their wildfire truck as well. Now, Chief Rick Anderson says this means his station is out of service for the foreseeable future.
It was like, oh, this can't be happening. We're just a little volunteer fire department. And this is kind of a big issue.
And more recently, an impaired driver rammed into a Stevens County ambulance. Now, emergency officials are hoping this is the end of a streak of some very bad luck for the sake of their community. In Stevens County, Amanda Rowley, Crime 2 News.
The Colville Tribal Police are searching for an escaped inmate tonight, so take a look at your screen. This is Amos Matthew Staggs. He's 27 years old. You can see black hair and brown eyes. He weighs about 150 pounds and has a history of violence. He was in jail on charges of battery, strangulation, and reckless endangerment. The Colville Tribe says Staggs escaped from the Colville Indian Agency Corrections Facility on May 8th when he climbed the fence of the outside recreation area to the top of the roof. He then jumped off and ran away. He's from the Nez Pelham area, but was last seen in Yakima. So anyone with information is asked to please call the Colville Tribe's Police Department or your local law enforcement. A new police precinct could soon occupy the old East Central Neighborhood Library in Spokane. Mayor Nadine Woodward shared that update yesterday along with other community members. Now, according to the East Central Neighborhood chair, a police precinct was an option during discussions with the city before that library was vacated. Another option was to expand the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center. Spokane's Hispanic Business Professionals Association also requested the City Council consider a cultural center as well. The executive director says it could have used that space and never received a response that they weren't chosen for that building.
HBPA has been serving the Hispanic Latinx community for over 27 years in Spokane. And we've been operating from our homes, our cars. We have a tiny little space. We're getting more and more people, more and more students. At this point, I do think it's the city's responsibility to look at what we're serving, look at the Hispanic Latinx community, the LGBTQ Latinx community, and really hear us out.
Mayor Nadine Woodward said while nothing has been set in stone yet, ultimately the council will have the final say on use of that building. But HBPA says until the space is occupied, their conversation isn't over. Last night's polls closed for Idaho's primary election, and there were several closely watched races, including the race for governor. The AP did call the race for Governor Brad Little early in the night. He had been challenged by the current Idaho Lieutenant Governor, Janice McGeachin. Little and McGeachin have become bitter political rivals over the last 2 years, and last night Governor Little talked about those differences during his victory speech.
The primary, it is a sliver of the issues that we disagree with that get all the attention.
In a post on Facebook today, Janice McGeachin acknowledged the vote total but did challenge Little's authority among Idaho Republicans. She wrote, quote, "Last night Idahoans showed Brad that he does not have a mandate. Brad Little barely managed a majority, even with tens of thousands of Democrats and liberals infiltrating the Republican Party to support him." All right, let's take a look at the vote totals as they stand right now. Statewide, Little is clearly in the lead, as you can see, with 53% of the vote. Janice McGeachin coming in close at 32. She is the next closest there, I should say, at 32% of the vote. And on the Democratic side, for those candidates against governor, Idaho has not elected a Democrat for governor in 27 years. So currently, there is only one Democratic candidate on the ballot. That is Stephen Haidt. And Shelby Ronstadt is the mayor of Sandpoint, also running as a write-in candidate. As of right now, write-ins are sitting with 20% of the vote. Two Libertarian candidates also are running for governor, Paul Sand and John Dion. And again, as you can see, Paul Sand in the lead easily with 60% of the vote tonight. All right, let's take a look at the lieutenant governor's race again, because Janice McGeachin ran for governor. There is not an incumbent in this race this time around. So as we take a look at the Republican candidates, there are three right now, including Scott Bedke, Daniel Gazierowski, and Priscilla Giddings. Scott Bedke definitely has been called as the person in the lead at this point with 52% of the vote. The next closest is Priscilla. Now, meanwhile, there is only one candidate who is running as a Democrat for the position of lieutenant governor. So that is why Terry Pickens Manweiler is having 100% of the vote tonight. All right, another interesting race that we are tracking is the Republican state Senate seat in District 5. Incumbent Senator Peter Riggs from Post Falls was hoping to keep his seat, but with 100% of the votes in, Riggs has apparently lost to political newcomer Carl Bierke. He won with more than 62% of the vote. As you can see, Riggs only managing 37, almost 38%. There is no Democratic candidate on the ballot right now to run for that seat in November. And we are continuing to track the primary election results across North Idaho. For all the latest results and information, remember you can just text the word VOTE to 509-448-2000. We'll send a link with all the results right to your phone. All right, we have a special guest here coming up tonight on KREM 2 News. And here's a hint. He loves a good barbecue. He also loves providing food for local families. Yeah, you might know who we're talking about. We're back after a quick break.